At exactly 2:13 a.m., my phone vibrated. It was a WhatsApp voice note from my sister, Sarah. Her voice was shaking. She whispered, "Daniel, if anything happens to me, check his phone." By 8 a.m., she was gone, and that voice note was the last time I ever heard her alive. I still have that voice note saved. I can't delete it. Sometimes I play it just to remind myself it was real. Sarah was my younger sister. She was 29. Smart. Quiet. The kind of person who avoided trouble. She worked at a pharmacy in Sorale. She had been married to her husband, Michael, for almost 2 years. From outside, everything looked fine. They posted pictures on Instagram. Birthday surprises. Church selfies. Smiling faces, but I knew something was off. 3 weeks before she disappeared, she came to my house unannounced. She looked tired, not physically tired, mentally tired. I asked her what was wrong. She said, "Nothing. Marriage is just different." I didn't push. That was my mistake. The night of the voice note, I was asleep when it came in, 2:13 a.m. I didn't see it until 5:47 a.m. when I woke up for work. I played it immediately. Her breathing was heavy. There was silence for a few seconds. Then she said, "Daniel, I don't have time. If anything happens to me, check his phone. Don't argue with him. Just check his phone. Please." Then the recording stopped. No goodbye. No explanation. My heart started racing. I called her immediately. Her phone rang once and went off. I called again, switched off. I called Michael. He didn't answer. At 7:15 a.m., he finally called me back. His voice sounded calm, too calm. "Good morning, Daniel. Where is Sarah?" I asked. "She's sleeping. Put her on the phone. She's not feeling well. She took something to help her sleep." Something in his tone made my stomach twist. I said, "I'm coming over." They lived in a rented duplex in Festac. I drove there in less than 30 minutes. When I got there, the gate was open. That already felt strange. Michael opened the door before I knocked. He was dressed, fully dressed, like someone who had not slept. "Where is my sister?" I asked. He hesitated for a second. "She left early this morning." My head felt hot. "Left? To where?" "I don't know. We had a small argument. She packed a few things and left." I pushed past him and entered the house. The living room looked normal, but something was wrong. There was a broken flower vase near the stairs. He said they argued, but the house looked like more than an argument happened. I ran upstairs to their bedroom. The bed was messy. Her wardrobe was open, but her suitcase was still inside. Her everyday handbag was still there. Her charger was plugged into the wall. If she left, she didn't plan it. I went back downstairs. "You're lying," I said. Michael's face changed. "Don't accuse me. Her bag is upstairs. She didn't go anywhere." He started raising his voice. "That's your sister. You think I'll harm her?" I remembered the voice note. "Check his phone." I looked at the center table. His phone was there. He quickly picked it up. "Why are you holding your phone like that?" I asked. He forced a laugh. "You're being dramatic." I said, "Let me see it." No, that was enough for me. I stepped outside and called the police. Within an hour, officers arrived. Michael tried to act calm. He kept saying she ran away. But when the police asked for his phone, he refused. They warned him. He still refused. That was when they forced him. And that was when everything started to break. On his phone, there were deleted chats, deleted pictures, and a message he sent at 2:25 a.m., 12 minutes after my sister sent that voice note. He texted someone, "It's done." My hands went cold. The police asked, "Done with what?" He said it was business, but then they checked call logs. At 1:58 a.m., he called an unknown number. They also found searches on his browser history. How long before a body smells cleaning blood from mattress? I felt like I was watching a movie, not my life. Police searched the house properly. In the guest bathroom, they found something small but important, a drop of dried blood near the drain. then more blood inside the bedroom mattress. It had been cleaned, but not perfectly. Michael's story started changing. First she left, then they argued, then she fell, then he said she hit her head, but where was she? That was the real question. Around 6 p.m. that same day, the police tracked the unknown number he called. It belonged to his cousin, James. James owned a small transport bus. They found James that evening. At first, he denied everything, but under pressure, he confessed. At 3 a.m., Michael called him in panic, said there was an accident, said he needed help. When James arrived, Sarah was lying on the bedroom floor, not moving. He said there was blood near her head. Instead of calling hospital, they decided to handle it quietly. Those were his words, handle it quietly. They wrapped her body in bed sheets, put her in the back of the bus, and drove off before sunrise. I couldn't breathe when they told me. I kept thinking about the voice note. She knew, somehow. She knew something was about to happen. Police tracked CCTV along the road. They saw the bus around 4:12 a.m. heading toward Bedegri Expressway. 2 days later, they found her dumped near a swamp area. I won't describe what I saw, but I will say this: it didn't look like an accident. The final report said she died from blunt force trauma to the head. There were signs of struggle. Michael claimed she slipped during an argument, but neighbors later said they heard screaming around 2 a.m. One neighbor even said she heard Sarah shout, "Don't touch me." That was minutes before the voice note. The trial lasted months. Michael kept changing his story. At one point, he said she was threatening to expose him. Expose him for what? That was the part we discovered later. On his phone were conversations with multiple women. He was also involved in small online scams. Sarah had found out. She confronted him. She threatened to report him. That night, things went too far. Anger, fear, pride, one push, one fall, and instead of saving her, he chose to protect himself. I still replay that voice note in my head. Why didn't I call her immediately at 2:13 a.m.? Why didn't I drive there that moment? Would she still be alive? Those questions don't leave. Her last words to me were not "I love you." They were, "Check his phone." And that phone told the whole story. Michael was sentenced years later, James too, but prison doesn't bring peace. It doesn't erase 2:13 a.m. It doesn't erase that message notification sound. Even now, when my phone vibrates at night, my heart jumps, because I know one thing for sure: sometimes, the scariest warning comes quietly, not a scream, not a fight, just a small WhatsApp voice note, sent at 2:13 a.m. And if I had ignored it, the truth might have disappeared with her forever. But I thought the story ended when Michael was sentenced. I was wrong, because 3 weeks after the burial, I got another message from Sarah's WhatsApp. Her number had been inactive since. The police took her phone as evidence. No one was using it, at least that's what I believed. It was 1:59 a.m. when my phone vibrated. Unknown number, but the profile picture, it was Sarah. The same picture she used before she died. My hand started shaking. I opened the chat. There was only one message, a forwarded voice note, timestamp, 2:13 a.m. My chest tightened. It couldn't be the same one. I already had that. I pressed play. It was her voice, but this one was different. It sounded like she was outside. I could hear wind and faint traffic. She whispered, "Daniel." He wasn't alone. The audio cut off suddenly. I stopped breathing. He wasn't alone. What did that mean? The police report said James came after she was already unconscious. So who was there before? I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I went straight to the police station. The officer in charge checked the number. It was registered with fake details, a prepaid SIM. They tried tracking it. It was already switched off. But here's the part that made everything worse. The metadata on the voice note showed it was recorded at 2:11 a.m., 2 minutes before the first voice note I received that night months ago, which meant she recorded 2 messages. I only got one that night. The second one never delivered. Until now, police reopened part of the investigation. They went through Michael's phone records again. This time, they looked closer at calls made that evening before 2 a.m. There was a number that stood out. A repeated call around 11:48 p.m. It lasted 12 minutes. The number belonged to a woman named Vanessa. When they brought her in, she denied everything, said she barely knew Michael, but phone location data showed her phone was near their house that night, around midnight. She claimed she was visiting a friend in the area. The friend later denied it. Pressure started building. Vanessa finally admitted she was at the house that night, but she said she left before anything happened. According to her, Sarah found messages between her and Michael. She came home angry. There was shouting. Vanessa said she felt uncomfortable and left. But here's the thing, CCTV from a nearby filling station showed Vanessa's car parked on their street at 1:37 a.m. The timestamp showed it driving away at 2:26 a.m., not midnight. That means she was still there when Sarah sent the first voice note. When police confronted her again, her story changed. She said the argument got physical. She said Sarah pushed Michael fast. She said Sarah picked up a small metal lamp during the fight. Then she said something that chilled me. She slipped. It was an accident. But that wasn't what the blood pattern suggested. The forensic report showed impact marks consistent with being struck, not slipping. And there were two different fingerprints on the metal lamp, Michael's and Vanessa's. That's when I understood what Sarah meant. He wasn't alone. She wasn't talking about after. She was talking about during. She knew there was someone else in that room. She knew it wasn't just her husband. That's why her voice sounded rushed. That's why she whispered. She didn't want them to hear her recording. Vanessa was eventually charged as an accessory. She claimed she panicked, claimed she didn't mean for anyone to die, but panic doesn't explain silence. It doesn't explain helping clean blood. It doesn't explain standing there while someone loses breath. The part that still scares me is this. When I went back to collect Sarah's belongings from the police, they gave me her phone. I scrolled through her last activity. At 2:09 a.m., she searched something on Google, how to record secretly on WhatsApp. At 2:11 a.m., she recorded the second voice note. At 2:13 a.m., she recorded the first one I received. That means she knew danger was close. She didn't scream. She didn't run outside. She quietly tried to leave evidence. My sister's last instinct wasn't fear, it was proof. Sometimes I sit in my room at night and replay both voice notes back to back. The first one, if anything happens to me, check his phone. The second one, he wasn't alone. There's something in her breathing that I can't forget. It's not just fear, it's disappointment, like she realized the man she married was capable of something she never imagined. People still ask me what the scariest part of the whole thing was. It wasn't finding out she was dead. It wasn't the court case. It wasn't even seeing Michael in handcuffs. It was realizing that if she didn't send that voice note, everything would have looked like a simple domestic accident. And two people would have walked free. Sometimes evil isn't loud. Sometimes it's just three people in a quiet room at 2 a.m., one angry, one jealous, one trying to survive, and one phone recording the truth at exactly 2:13 a.m.